This regular session of the Wetzel County Board of Education is called to order. We'll begin with an opening pledge of allegiance led by Mr. Yeager. I will share an invocation with us. Anyone not wishing to participate may stay seated. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Father, we continue to ask for wisdom and guidance upon us as we strive to make choices and decisions that affect Wetzel County schools. But tonight, Father, our special thoughts go out to the people of Ukraine. Father, we pray your guiding hand would bring peace and an end to war. And we recognize that it gives us perspective of how blessed we are here in this country. And we just pray your strength upon those people who are challenged and ravished by the difficulties of war even this hour. We pray for your strength and comfort and your guidance. And we ask all this through Christ's name. Amen. Amen. Without any objection from the board, I would like to turn numbers 2 and 3 around on our agenda and do the recognitions prior to our public hearing concerning the school calendar without any objection. Not hearing any objection, let's go ahead and do our recognitions tonight. We have several of those, and we thank all of you for coming. The first set of recognitions that we have is the West Virginia Seal of Biliteracy. I believe Mr. Jimmy Malott is here, the teacher that's involved in that, and we thank you, sir, for coming and your work with these students. We have 3 students from Magnolia High School that are being recognized tonight with this seal from West Virginia, and our appreciation of their efforts as well. We have, and I'm going to come up there and I'll read these from when I get up there. Thank you. Mr. Malott, if you'd like to come join us as well, please. And I apologize if I mispronounce any name, but not unusual if I do that. Joy Lynn. Also Fernando Hernandez. Herbert Hernandez. Mr. Malott, would you like to speak for a moment about this certificate and this seal from West Virginia?
Yeah. What this is an annual certification for bilingual students. And Joy, her native language is Chinese, so she scored proficient in English and proficient in Chinese. Fernando and Herbert, their native language is Spanish. And I had all 3 of them as ESL students in the past. They all scored proficient a few years ago on English, so this test allows them to have the seal of biliteracy. It's a national test that they take through an agency, and all 3 of them scored above the national average in their respective languages.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Guys, stay up here. We need a picture. Where would you like, Mr.
Just scoot. You know what? We'll go behind this table.
Okay.
I'll ignore that table.
Yeah.
Go ahead and go. I'll get all of you back there.
You guys stay in the front. We'll see if you guys can stand right here. Thank you.
Can we see the boys?
I can see the boys. All right. Okay. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you all. Next set of recognitions that we'd like to do tonight are the high school West Virginia Allstate Chorus. We have 3 of them from 100 High School. That's no small achievement, by the way. The allotments that you get at the high school level is a little different than the elementary level, and how you have to go about that. And so congratulations and kudos to you, Melissa Hayes, the teacher instructor there, and congratulations to all your students. Roxy Huggins, sorry, my apologies, Roxy Huggins. We also have Jolie Hayes. And finally tonight, Sky Goddard. And not able to count. Okay, let me give you this to you. Come on up here with me, Mrs. Hayes. And again, congratulations to all of you. And have fun next week. I look forward to I'll actually be down there myself.
Yes, that's right.
All right. 1, 2, 3. One more. 2, 3.
Just got a little bit of.
Thank you all. And then we also have several students that are going to be part of the Allstate Children's Chorus as well. And let me just make sure I look at my other list to get the schools correct here. I think that's right. When the board members sign, yeah, I got it right. Okay. So, again, 2 students from Long Drain will be performing with the children's chorus. And again, a tremendous achievement, and have to work really hard and be prepared to sing a lot this coming weekend. And so first is Emma Stone King. Congratulations. And Austin Hayes. Come on back up with these students as well. Well, let's do. You want to do them all together, Joe Bathurst?
Oh, sure.
Okay, let's do them all together. So let's go ahead and add the New Martinsville students as well. And Mrs. Sutton, Crystal Sutton, their teacher, if you can come on up and join us as well. Congratulations to you on the achievement of getting your students into this wonderful chorus. Lindsay Barkus. Connor Sutton. And Laura Lai, is that right? Laura Lai Morgan. So if y'all would come right over here and kind of half circle up there, and Crystal, let's you kind of come around, maybe slide up there. There you go. Slide in there wherever you can. Connor, you can slide right in front there.
Absolutely.
So everybody will get, yep.
All right. I'm waiting on Connor. We're okay. Okay. All set? 1, 2, 3. Again. 1, 2, 3.
Any other comments before we? All right. Congratulations, guys. Again, enjoy the next few days. I guess.
Thank you.
And all those students recognized, I want you to know that I'm absolutely not offended. If you have other things that you would like to do, I'll turn this way and you can walk out that way. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Sure.
I'm going across the hall.
Thank you all again. Board members, again, without any objection, I would also like to move the presentation that we had from Rich Earlywine this evening on the Heart of the Community Scholarships. If without any objection, I'll move that before we have our public hearing on the calendar as well. And so, Mr. Earlywine, if you come and share with us your presentation this evening.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for getting rid of my audience.
You had quite an audience for us.
I got bad news as soon as I come in. Ms. Wells told me that there's a 5-minute limit, so I'll do the best I can.
Now, what did I tell you?
For those of you that don't know me, well, one thing, I had an old man in Beckley one time at a moose convention. There was a guy talking just to hear himself, and he leaned over to me and he wrote, I still have the notebooks, 30-some years old. He said, to be a successful speaker, be brief, be sincere, and be seated, the 3 B's. So I can't keep it to 5 minutes, but I'll do the best I can. For those of you that know me, and there's not very many that don't, the rest of them left. I'm a life resident of Wetzel County, and I retired from PPG after 38 years. I was drafted in 1968, went to Vietnam for a year and a day, and came back, spent my career at the plant, joined the Moose Lodge in 1970. What I like to do up at the plant, when we get a new engineer in there, I told them that, you know, how long do you go to school? And it was usually 5, 6 years they went to be an engineer. And I'd tell them, that's just what I figured. I said, I finished college in 1 year. I never told them that I didn't graduate. Anyway, I got involved in the Moose as a result of a gentleman named Lee Watkins. I don't know if anybody here would remember him or not, but he was my mentor and my neighbor and my friend. Rode to work with him and all that. And so he conned me into being an officer in 1976. And so that comes up to about 24 and 22. 46 years I've been an officer, and I've been an administrator over there for 35. Starting May 1st will be my 35th year, and I have announced my retirement as September the 1st, but they've already asked me to keep going with the scholarship program. But before I go on to scholarships, I just want to give you a quick update. I was here a few years ago, and the purpose of the Loyal Order of Moose is the children's home in Chicago. It's 40 miles west of Chicago. It's called Moose Heart. Currently there's 200 children there. They are in immaculate homes. It's a secured community. It's like a small town. It's on 1,000 acres. And I have been there probably 25 times. The most recent was just this past June. The campus reminds me of the Masters when you watch that golf tournament, because it is manicured, and that's what the grounds look like. Right now, currently, there are 8 5th and 6th graders living in the West Virginia home. Each state has a responsibility to support those kids, so whatever they need, they get. These boys are living in a $1 million house, and they want for nothing. They have house parents. They get a tremendous education out there. And this year, I was at the high school graduation. There was only 17 in the senior class, but 2 of those went to the military, 2 went to a trade school. The other 13 got scholarships, and 1 girl's going to Northwestern. That's pretty commendable in my book. But the first time I was over there in 1978 for a high school graduation, this young lady, the valedictorian, her father had gotten killed in an auto accident on his way to the hospital while she was being born. She was the 5th child in the family. Her mother took 5 children and went to Moose Heart and raised all 5 of her children. She started out as a cook, and she ended up as a teacher's aide. And the clincher is, people, it didn't cost a nickel. That's what the Moose does. We support that home. And it used to be you had to have an affiliation with the Moose. Your parents or someone you were related to, if you wanted to go there, you had to have an affiliation. And with all the government regulations now, if we don't maintain a minimum of 200, we would lose our tax exempt status. So I've been here before, many years ago. Jay is on the board of officers at the Moose. Darren's a life member. Teresa's a member. It's a great organization. Surely in this county, before I retire, can we see if we can get a student to go to Mooseheart? Now I just drove out there, so it's an 8-hour drive. If there's no military atmosphere, and it's a tremendous education, they're allowed to leave in the summer and get their breaks, and it's a little town like, but they are well taken care of, and a tremendous education. So I would like to see somebody from here go. Now, let's say there's a Social Security issue involved, and they're getting that. That goes to Mooseheart. They have to give that up. And that's part of our issues. The government's kind of stabbing us in the back. 2 young boys in Nitro, their father got killed. Their mother was getting Social Security. They went to Mooseheart, great kids. And she was into drugs. She didn't get her drug money because it was going out there for the Social Security. So she takes them out of Mooseheart, and they both ended up in prison. I guarantee you, almost guarantee you, they wouldn't have been there had that not happened, you know. There's the same type of facility in Jacksonville, Florida called Moose Haven for senior citizens. Not everybody's got a good retirement. Not everybody's as fortunate, you know, to have a job where you're going to have be able to survive without it. So if you're a member of the Moose, when you're 50 years old, if you have belonged 15 years by the time you reach the age of 65, you can go to Moose Haven and live free. No strings attached, but you have to have been a member for 15 years. Darren, you'll be eligible.
Yeah, don't tell my wife.
But anyway, that's what the Moose does. That's what we work for, and we have fundraisers. We donate. Jay came to me just 2 nights ago and told me about the fire in Romney, and they've already put out we have a midwinter conference in Huntington the end of March, and so I'll guarantee you the State Moose Association, I don't know what amount of money, but the State Moose Association will make a sizable donation to the School of Deaf and Blind in Romney. So, and we'll do our share in New Martinsville. Now, on the scholarships. My 5 minutes up, Teresa? Okay. In 1988, they started that what they called a Nor Robert Dale Scholarship. The first 2 years we had them scholarships, Rich Earlywine had the most turned in. We didn't win any. They're random drawings. So Mac McCaskey was an officer, and Mac said, Rich, why don't we give one from the lodge? That way all your efforts won't be in vain. Well, that year that we decided to do that, we won one, and then we gave one, so that was 2. We're right now up to $194,000 that we've been responsible for to 28 different high schools throughout the valley. One went to North Carolina. I brought the list in. I have this memorized, but not totally. One went to North Carolina, one went to Pennsylvania this year, and I usually try and go to all these high schools and make these presentations, but I just can't. I can't make it this year. To North Carolina, Tennessee was the other one. We've had one down in Tennessee. If you're a member and your sons or daughters or grandsons or granddaughters you have to apply in the junior year. It doesn't matter where they live, just as long as they're a Moose, and it has to be in the junior year that you apply. So there weren't any scholarships the first 2 years. And the reason this thing's successful is I won't take no for an answer, because Jay is a big help, or whoever gets me the list. The qualifications are 2.5 minimum for the state and lodge scholarships, and what they have now is what they call the Heart of the Community Scholarship. That's a 3.0 requirement. But most of them, I get the same names on both lists. So Jay, or whoever prints that list out for me, gives me a list of each, because not everybody's got 3.0. But the state scholarships, our lodge gives 3 $1,000 scholarships a year. The state association gives 4 $1,000 scholarships a year. And then the national scholarship, it's based on how many applications are turned in. So the more we turn in, the more we can win, and the more the merrier. So since I don't use the word I because it's our lodge, it's if you belong, it's our lodge. But I kind of ramrodded this scholarship thing, and since I started doing this, we have submitted 1,230 applications in 34 years, and we've given out 53 $1,000 scholarships in the last 4 years. That's a combination of the lodge, the state, and the ones from Moose International. We had some outside donations this year, so the 3 lodge scholarships this year are going to be $1,500 each. So I've got a running total, and I got it all. I'm working on it right now. I've already got, I think, 5 back in, and but I don't have the Wetzel County list. Angie at River, what's her name? Guidance counselor over there. They're in.
Shepherd, no.
Yeah, is it Shepherd yet? It will be if it's not. I don't know. $123,000 have gone to Magnolia High School, and Payton City has won 12. I'm gonna give you Wetzel counties. 100 has won 2, and Valley has won 8. So that's a pretty good total for that, and for this county. I appreciate all your help that you give me, and I think my 5 minutes is about up. If there's any questions about anything, the Moose or the scholarships, or be happy to answer them. If there's anybody that's not a member that would like to join, I just happen to have applications. This is a membership project, a tool that I use, and I thank you for your attention, and I'm finished. Thank you. Anybody have any questions?
I appreciate it. That's an amazing record.
Oh, you got a copy of that?
Yes.
All right.
That's
Well,
an amazing
that
record.
is that one updated? I don't think that's an updated one. There's one more year to go on there yet, but yes, that's.
No, this was the
And I think it had me up to
2021.
Okay, then, okay. I found an old one today, couldn't find that one, so, when I find out that you've got a junior, I won't take a no for an answer.
I got it.
One more quickie.
Sure.
You know Chris Horn? Chris Horn, Bob and Lee Horn? Okay. I called Lee Horn one day on the very last day they were due. I said, Lee, are you mad at me? And she said, no, why? I said, well, Chris didn't turn in his application. She said, that kid, I'm so mad. She said, he let his grades go. I said, would you be quiet a second? I said, I'm looking at the transcripts I have. He's got a 2.5. He's eligible. She said, send it in. I said, okay, just settle down. So I sent it in. The night of the drawing we had at the Moose, he won one of our lodge scholarships, okay? So I call him and I leave him a message. He's in Wheeling playing basketball. He doesn't know, he didn't come to the pizza party. When he come home, he heard the message. He went wild. Woke his parents up screaming and hollering, and he ended up, he wasn't going to go to college. That little $1,000 scholarship jump-started that kid. And this is a tremendous coincidence, but I went to watch my granddaughter graduate at West Liberty from nursing school, not knowing anything about Chris Horn being there, and he got his master's that day in business or accounting or something, I don't know, and now he's a successful businessman in Wheeling. So anyway, success story. Thank you.
If you all want to, Mr. Yeager.
Yes, we're gonna let you get out of here.
Okay.
That easy.
Usually, when she told me I only had 5 minutes, I knew she didn't know me because I can do that on one breath. Okay.
When you talk Moose Scholarship anywhere in this state, the first thing that comes to anybody's mind is Rich Earlywine. That's how much he means to this
Wow.
scholarship program.
They made some drastic changes a few years ago that I didn't like, and the lady that made the changes didn't know. Yeah, I'm an old man, and I know everybody. I know everybody at Mooseheart too, and I know all the people that pull the strings, and so it took me a little while, but we got rid of her.
Hold on.
Can't leave yet.
What?
The Board of Education here, we would like to present you a certificate of appreciation. Let it be known that this certificate is presented to Rich Earlywine with sincere thanks for your years of commitment to the scholarship program and the assistance to the students of Wetzel County. presented this day, February the 28th, 2022.
Well, thank you.
You two look at me. Absolutely. All right, 1, 2, 3. One more, 2, 3.
All right, thanks, thanks, sir. All right, I'll say thank you. All right, I don't believe I've met you, sir. Anybody I don't know, I just go say this.
Brian.
Brian.
Brian Price.
Brian Price, pleased to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
All right,
Thank you again.
thank you, see you.
Thank you, Rich.
See you.
All right. David. How you doing?
Good.
You had a student here tonight, that Joy Lynn, she won one of our Moose scholarships. And I thought she was gonna be here, Steve. You
Have a good night.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mr. Yeager. Next item on the agenda tonight is, back to number 2 then, on our agenda list of the public hearing concerning the 2022-2023 calendars. We're to the public hearing aspect of that at this time. Mr. Cook.
Thank you. Again, it's been a couple weeks since we had our first meeting in regards to the Western County Schools school calendar for 22-23 school year. A lot of information has come back. We've been running a survey since probably about a month now, haven't we been? Pretty close to a month?
It's been, it's been 2 weeks.
2 weeks last.
It seems like it's been a month. So there's a lot of information back on that, and I'll get to it here in a minute, but I do have to go over the information that I have to go over. So the calendar requirements as per West Virginia Code and State Board Policy 3234, each county must submit a calendar for approval to the State Superintendent of Schools. Counties must hold 2 public hearings and allow interested parties to discuss the calendar. 180 days of instruction have to be in that calendar, a 48-week maximum window. County boards cannot hold graduations or release seniors any earlier than 5 days prior to the last instructional day of our calendar. Counties must schedule 6 faculty senate meetings to no more than 45 days apart. 20 non-instructional days. All the legal holidays are there, and actually when I put them in the system, they automatically populate, so I can't mess it up like I have on the option 1 and option 2 here, which is an Excel spreadsheet of about 90% of what actually goes on the state calendar that's submitted. But all the legal holidays and the elections, OS days, we have to have 6. 4 must occur after the 130th day of instruction. So if you remember a couple years ago, we had to redo our calendar, and we moved OS days around a little bit. I think we had 2 of them in the calendar prior to school ending, and we also had utilized our NTID days prior to school prior to actually meeting, and we already pointed them out so that we could utilize the calendar that we had already kind of made and were following when the state said, you know, we're starting later, redo your calendar. You have 24 hours to get it to us. And basically, that's what it came down to. Prep, CD, CU, and PM, those days, I can't see that far now. Days, staff department days, what's that say?
Staff development.
Days, staff development days, yeah, prep day, we have to have 1 prep day at the beginning of the year and 1 prep day at the end. Other than that, after, what's that say there, Mr. Marcus? You got your glasses on.
Prep day before school starts and after the last day of instruction.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Go ahead and read that.
Nope.
Okay, this was option 1. It was starting after Labor Day and ending in late June. And then everything in between was pretty close to the same, if not the same, on both options, because that's what the committee wanted to see and wanted to vote on. The OS days are at the end of the year. I know the board saw that my mistake down there in the middle. I think it has November 10th, which is Marine Corps birthday. instead of November 11th as Veterans Day. So I just can't get over that November 10th thing. That's the day I want to take off. This is option 2, which starts prior to Labor Day. It was a couple weeks before. And as you'll see, some of the results here in regards to that, Mr. Vargas. What's it say there in orange?
88.3.
88.3% shows option 2, and that's a combination of both staff and community.
Nope, that's just staff.
That's just staff. Thank you, over there in the corner. And option 1 got how many? 11 point something?
11.7, yeah.
Okay. Public calendar selection, there it is. Ben?
Option 2, 59.9, and option 1, 40.1.
And I believe that was so high because they thought we were starting later and still finishing early. So once we actually put the real dates on there as far as when it was ending, that started to come back around to choosing of option 2. And this is the NTID. We had, looks like 90-some% want to continue with the NTID.
72.9 of the public.
And yeah, so both public and employees want to continue with the 5 NTID days. Given that if you do choose that, these are gonna be basically the days that we're starting. For option 2, the first day for teachers, August 15th. The prep day for teachers, August 15th. First day for students, August 22nd. Last day of the first semester, if I calculated correctly, and the state will tell me if I didn't, January 20th, thereabouts. Last day of instruction, June 1st, 2023. That's hard to believe, 2023. That make you feel old? Just kind of makes me feel a little bit. Closing prep day, June 1st, 2023. Other important dates, Ms. Vargas?
Oh, you got Thanksgiving break, November 21st through the 27th. Christmas break, December 16th through January the 2nd. President's, that's supposed to be Martin Luther King Day, I believe, January 20th. President's Day is February 20th.
Yeah, if that's not considered a holiday for these guys.
Okay.
We're taking.
Spring break, April 6th through the 10th. And then you got CD days, August 16th, 17th, and 18th. OS days, June, does that say 5th through the 12th, Ben?
Yes.
It does.
And then PLPM days, August 19th, January 20th, and March 24th.
So there's 3 professional learning, professional meeting days already built into the calendars. Along with, once we get rolling and get everything selected, we'll be doing lots of Wednesdays. That actually is the end, isn't it? Any questions on that? I know it's the second time you guys have kind of went through that.
Veterans Day is
November 11th. And down in the middle, I think I put November 10th on my, yeah. Blue Rock.
By law, is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on the calendar? I have to legally allow you to do that. Not hearing anything. Board members, you can ask questions now, or you also have an opportunity prior to the vote on item 8 to ask questions as well. Because we come back later on the agenda to actually vote on the calendar. So if you have other questions, you might want to just hold them until we actually come to the agenda item on the calendar itself. If that's okay. Next item on the agenda then is, well, would have been delegations. There are none this evening. So we are to item number 6, the superintendent's information.
Okay,
Mrs. Wells.
thank you very much. Have some exciting things coming up and coming down the pike for us. Of course, as you know from the awards that we had this evening, we have this weekend, or the end of this week, going into the weekend, we have the West Virginia Allstate Chorus and Allstate Children's Choir. If any of you have ever heard that choir, you know why those of us that are arts geeks get so excited over this particular event. It is just amazing to hear children sing at this high level and sing pieces that are so complex and have the best of directors leading them, and their directors down there with them who are amazing themselves. And it is just a real collegial atmosphere and just a fantastic opportunity for these children to sing quality music with quality people and people to take it very, very seriously. So I'm very, very proud of that, and I'm really happy that we have so many in our little, Wetzel County is small, and we have a lot of kids going to this. So the arts are well alive in Wetzel County, and I'm definitely glad to hear it.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
Is
sir.
it streamed, or do we,
No,
no?
no, because of licensing issues.
Right.
What's that?
Because of licensing issues.
Now, they do
Oh,
sell,
Yeah, you can buy a ticket and go watch it in person,
Right.
but it
Don't
is
they-
not live streamed.
are they not doing the videos this year?
You mean as
Buy a
far as to buy the
DVD.
video
Right,
later?
yeah, right.
After the fact.
After the fact.
You can buy the DVD,
Okay.
or at least they have it.
Okay.
Yep.
It's-
Todd will have 7 or 8 copies.
Yeah.
It's a pretty expensive DVD too, I know that.
Yeah. They have a captive audience with all you parents. do.
Yeah.
They know they're gonna get their money. Also, coming up this weekend, it's a big, next weekend, is a big event for our ag students. We have the Wetzel County, 54th annual county 4-H and FFA ham, bacon, and egg sale on March 11th at 7:30. 2 students have written letters inviting you guys personally to that. Callie Briggs, a senior at Valley High School, and Mason Haddix, who just graduated from Magnolia High School in 2021. So they have asked for our participation in that, and I will make sure that I hit that. Very proud of 100 High School. They've written yet another multi-$1,000 grant, $30,000 grant for a remodeled mobile CTE lab. It was in a CTE exploration grant. 100 High School, if there's a grant out there, they're going to write it, and they're going to get big bucks for it. So I'm very, very pleased with them and excited to see the mobile lab that they're getting ready to run around our county. The next thing I have for you is that we have the county social studies fair this weekend. Begins at 9 o'clock, judging begins at 9 o'clock on Saturday. I hope that if you can come and help judge, that's great. If you can, at least maybe come to the awards ceremony afterwards around noon. It's an exciting time for students who have delved in depth into a topic that they really enjoy in social studies, and it's a real experience in project-based learning and academia, and the kids are excited about it, and I am too. So
Is that at the elementary or the high school?
the elementary school.
I thought it was in the past, but I wasn't
Yes.
sure. Is that-
So we're very excited about that. You know, can't go without talking about those teachers. We have mentioned, you know, we have the ag teachers in the county, and we'll be bringing those teachers here as the year comes to a close. But I do want to mention that we have Sedona Kimball and Elliot Kendall, who have done the social studies fair for us for years, and we could not continue this countywide if it wasn't for their efforts. So we're very grateful for them as well. The next thing is, I promised you guys we would start reviewing 5.2 and 5.3 for the West Virginia Standards for Effective Schools. They are, instructional activities are rigorous and aligned to student interest and state standards, and feedback is timely, ongoing, and supports individual student growth. And I placed on your tables in front of you 2 documents. The first one having a green header on it, and the second one having what looks like a B or a 5 or something there. We started this briefly today in our staff meeting with the idea that we would study it and come back next Monday and really go in depth, because we have our principals meeting then on Wednesday. So we will practice with these. We will model some of these activities. We will work with our principals then at their monthly principals meeting. The first handout I gave you is based on the classroom activities, and it's just a compilation of some very tried and true classroom strategies. It's a refresher for most of our people, but as many of us who have been in the field know, you learn stuff, and sometimes when you get that refresher, it reinvigorates you and energizes you, and you can go back in and remember, yeah, it was a good strategy, so we're going to use it again. So there's that one. I won't read it to you. You can look at it at your own leisure, but know that our people will be discussing this, and principals will be taking it back to their faculties once we've had our principals meeting. The second one is based on 5.3, which is feedback. And these are ways to integrate effective feedback into our classroom. And for brevity's sake, if you just go to page 7, I think this last page, if they read nothing else, this is what not to do. And sometimes those little lists are a little more interesting for people. One that I thought as an English teacher that I never knew was too much written feedback. I always thought the more written feedback I could give a student, the better for the parents, the better for them. But if you read this, it's overwhelming for them, and they have difficulty, some of them processing it. And of course, we know if students have difficulty reading, and I keep writing on their assignments, that could be confusing and frustrating. So there are some ideas on feedback. What I really like about this particular document is on page 3 at the very top, when they talk about why feedback is important, they talk about Hattie. And we've talked about Marzano and Hattie ad nauseum all year. And when we, feedback being the most important teacher practice and improving student learning. And it goes on down to talk in the second paragraph under why is feedback important about metacognition. And we've talked forever. Metacognition is thinking about your thinking. And strategies such as goal setting. Well, we just talked about the persist method at the last board meeting, and we talked about that with our principals and with our county office staff. So this is all starting now to come together and make sense. And feedback, of course, is an important part of engaging our students and making sure that they have success in their academics. So this is what we will be studying up to and including the middle of next week with our principals, and they will take it back to their teachers. So we are finished with number 5. At the next board meeting, we'll talk about 6, and the following board meeting, number 7. And we will have made it through the 7 standards for effective schools. And I think that's all I have for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda then is the superintendent's recommendations. The first is the approval of the minutes from the regular meeting on February 14th. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Has been moved to accept the minutes on February 14th. Is there a second?
A second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Are there any questions regarding those minutes? Not hearing any, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? They are approved. The next item on the agenda is the personnel matters. You have had the agenda ahead, so you've had an opportunity to see the various personnel matters that are before us this evening. Are there any questions relating to the personnel matters?
It's not directly related to the personnel resignations or anything. Where does some of these leave us, Mr. Cook, in regard to extracurricular activities? Like,
Well, most of them are resigning after their seasons are over with, so.
like baseball coach at 100.
Yeah, we're trying to find them.
So they're,
So we're not actually gonna have a girls softball team out there, so, I think they're gonna be eligible to play baseball if they want to. And
okay, so
we're actively trying to get one out there.
somebody will ask well, somebody did ask when they saw that, what's gonna happen to 100 baseball? And I said, I'm sure there are
The
things
principal-
going on to try to get. Okay.
Principal's on it. As long as they have enough kids to play. Like I said, I don't think they're gonna have a softball team this year.
Maybe Mrs. Sigley will be out there.
She might.
We've had that before,
It
principals
happens.
coach,
Yeah, it does happen. Anything to get in a uniform again, you know? We squeeze right back in one more time.
Any other questions regarding personnel matters?
About, we have a couple of substitute teachers resigning, 2 or 3 substitute aides. Are we still short? I'm
Still
sure
short.
we are.
Yeah. And those are, I sent out like 22 letters a month or so ago of those people that aren't participating, just trying to get them back in the fold, and they decided they don't want back in. It's time. Most of them are
Are
retired.
we requiring them to work a certain amount?
No, not so much, but we pointed it out that they have not, or they've turned down 100 jobs, and, just trying to find out if they're okay, is it, what's the reasoning, are they gonna come back?
Well, I think some of them, COVID and retired and age and things have affected that. I think that as things are calming down, we may see some of them come back. At least
Hope so.
a person that talked to me will be, I know, so.
Hope so.
And you could turn down 100 jobs easily, I mean,
Oh, yes. In a week.
some people get caught about 20, 30 times a night.
We need them.
And we need our, especially the retired people, you know, and we know that they wouldn't retire, they want to work every day. So, but at this point in time, there aren't people out there.
No,
that-
no. We've toned it down quite a bit as far as the letter,
But
as
some
far
in
as
the
that's
fall,
concerned.
there'll be others that could.
Pop back.
That's true.
Yes.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah, there's always another group of retirees.
I'll be getting a letter though.
Any other questions, board members? Not hearing any, then is there a motion as it relates to the approval of superintendent's recommendations outlined under personnel matters?
I so moved.
Has been moved. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Has been moved and properly seconded to approve the superintendent's recommendations outlined under personnel matters. Again, any further questions? Not hearing any, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? And it carries. Next on the agenda is routine matters. There are several routine matters that are on this particular list. I do want to make board members and the public aware, there is one correction down there under surplus property, where it says bus number 37, 2009 International 77 passenger. That actually should read, if I'm reading my note correctly,
Should be bus 35.
yeah, it should be bus 30, I apologize, I see it now, my bad. Never mind what I started to say there. I'm gonna retract everything I just said and start over. Bus number 37 at the bottom of the list is okay. Bus number 37, the second one in your list, should actually say bus 35. And that will correct the agenda in the appropriate way. I didn't notice it as I should. So simply change the second item on that list of buses to bus number 35 rather than bus number 37. Are there any questions as it relates then to these routine matters?
So they're by sealed bids now. They used to be by public auction, right, or no?
We've done it both ways.
Both
Back
ways.
when in the day, if we had an auction, we used to have we haven't had a school auction for years. But at that time, if we had any school buses, most of the time buses that were not even running at the time, they would be sold then for people to buy as storage bins and that kind of thing.
So
Okay.
this just goes in as a legal advertisement,
Yes.
and
I believe that's.
people submit sealed bid, okay.
I used to sell a lot of those to bus companies in Florida that would come up here and buy those. They would fix them up and send them to the islands in the Caribbean.
Wow.
Any other questions as it relates to routine, go ahead, you're.
I was gonna make the motion.
Oh, okay.
I move for approval of superintendent's recommendations under routine matters.
It has been moved, is there a second?
I'll second.
Has been moved and properly seconded to accept the superintendent's recommendations outlined under routine matters. Any further questions?
Just a question about.
Sure, absolutely.
And I'm a ramp guy, but I would assume they're cooking those outside.
Oh, I hope.
Make
I
it-
will ask.
Yes,
Dr.
okay,
Campbell.
because that's
Yes.
important, because they tend to linger.
Yes, they do. I will talk with Dr. Campbell.
Okay.
You might wanna make that stipulation.
Yes.
We may have to cancel school.
Any other questions before we vote? It has already been moved and seconded. Not hearing any other questions. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Routine matters are approved. Next item on the agenda now is to actually move to the vote on the school calendar for the 2022-2023 school year. We've had our two public hearings on that matter. allowing for public input. We've done surveys, we've done various things to try to include the public, and allowing them to have a voice, as it pertains to this school calendar. If I'm hearing things and understanding what's been presented to us, we would prefer, option 2. There's a little bit of, discrepancy between staff and public, maybe a little bit as it relates to the surveys, but it seemed like majority, overwhelming majority appreciated or desired option 2 of the calendar. Board members, are there any questions as it relates to the calendar? I'm not hearing any, so I would move that we approve the option 2 calendar for the 2022-2023 school year.
Second.
Has been moved and properly seconded. Again, if there are no further questions, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That calendar is approved. It is also necessary for us to approve those non-instructional days, or NTID days, that they continue to be utilized and used. And so that is the next item on our agenda. Board members, are there any questions as it relates to those non-traditional instruction days? Is there a motion?
So moved.
That has been moved to accept and approve the non-instructional days. Is there a second? It has been moved and properly seconded by Ms. Fawner. Again, if there are no questions, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the treasurer's report. Mr. Lancaster.
I only have one thing that requires action tonight. Before we get to that, part of my report, the proposed budget calendar for fiscal year 22, which is in there. Just to kind of discuss this and make sure that this is okay with everybody. I haven't really talked it over with anybody yet. Anybody, meaning, I'm throwing it out there, I think it might be the first time Mrs. Wells has done it as well. We have to work around a couple dates, we're really one date with our budget calendar. And that is, we are required to, on the 3rd Tuesday of April, to officially meet and enter the levy rates. So what we've done in the past is we have moved the April 25th meeting. We've done it a couple ways. Way back when, we meet at 8 o'clock in the morning, get 3 of you to show up, and it takes 5 minutes to approve those levy rates that are set. But if we can move our 25th meeting back to the 19th, we can take care of it then. We did that last year, we've done that before, but I don't know if that, losing that April 25th meeting, just moving it up a week, would cause any problems. But we have to meet on a Tuesday.
I had forgotten, and that's my fault, that of the legal requirement of that 3rd Tuesday, in April, and I am out of town.
Okay.
But I think we've got a quorum from what it looks like. I just checked with Mr. Yeager, he can be here. So if the board desires to go ahead and move that regular meeting of the 25th to the 19th, I'm sure the 4 of them can handle those responsibilities.
If you wanna do it that way, or if you wanna meet just meet on the 25th anyway, or on the 25th anyway, either way works. We definitely have to meet at least 3 of us.
Right, you gotta meet on the 19th, and so if the board would prefer just to go ahead and move that meeting, I'm perfectly fine with that.
What can I suggest, because I was gonna be out of town on the 12th? Is that a Monday, Joe Beth?
April.
Yeah.
11th.
Yeah, it'd be 11th.
Okay, the 11th is the Monday?
Yeah.
You're saying maybe replace that meeting, move that back?
Yeah, now I was planning on it, trying to call in that evening. So
On the 11th?
On the 11th,
Okay.
yes. If I can find a place that has internet or Wi-Fi.
So you're suggesting instead of canceling the 25th meeting, we would move the 11th meeting to the 19th?
And that's okay, I could do it either way.
It doesn't, I'm gonna miss that either way, and so.
But if that's easier for Mr. Yeager, I don't know that we need to meet on the 11th. We can meet on, do it So basically keep, the meetings in April could be the 19th and the 25th. Is that what we're saying?
And the 26th?
The 19th and the
26 you have as a special, but.
Oh, I do. I'm thinking here. Now I'm thinking again, why didn't I do this last year? Why don't I take,
Let's switch the regular meeting of the 25th to the 19th.
And actually, now that I'm thinking about the 25th, I had a doctor's appointment that I had to cancel back in November at WVU, that they rescheduled for the 25th. And it's not until like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so I don't think I can make it back.
So
in.
that would clear that one off of there.
Yes, so that would work. We can do it
Okay,
that way.
so let's leave the regular schedule as is on the 11th. We'll hold that meeting, but we'll do this. Is everybody available on the 26th for that workshop, that work session?
Yes.
On the 26th,
I
and then there's the regular meeting on the May 9th and the May 23rd, those are regularly scheduled. So everybody's good with the way this looks as is?
so
Not hearing anything else, I think we're fine, just, we can go with this schedule.
So you're saying move the regular 25th meeting to the 19th?
That is correct, so there will be
Okay.
no regular meeting on the 25th. There will be one on the 11th, and then a regular and required levy meeting on the 19th. And those will be the 2 meetings in April.
got it. If Joe Beth has it.
I got it.
So then the only action that I require is supplements and transfers, and you do have those in front of you. The budget supplement, there's roughly a little over $75,000 here. There's a mini modernization or program modernization funds that are going to a couple of our welding programs, a robotics program, the nursing, and the electrical program that we spread out among those groups. The robotics is 100, but the other ones will be out at the tech center. English as a second language, a good night to bring that to the table. Here's a small state grant that helps with funding of that part of our education. The I Got Vax prize, you know about, Governor's Bulldog that came to Payton City High School. This is now, I finally got a budget and a grant award that we can supplement that $50,000.
What can they spend that?
They've got a good bit of leeway.
Anything for kids.
Good.
Or dogs.
When he was there, he emphasized experiences was the word I believe he kept using.
So they haven't spent anything yet, other than I got our first requisition, and I shouldn't say it, but I think I remember a dart gun. I think that's one of the things that I remember seeing on, I might be wrong on that, but something that's a fun day for the kids or something, so I'm not sure what that is. But the oral health program is another grant of roughly $7,800 that helps with that in our schools. And finally, the last one is just some changes from our actual grant awards from our spring projections. So that's just cleaning that up for Title I and rural low income. And the transfers, there's a ton of transfers on there, but that's all routine transfers, one for special education grants, and the other one is something I do every year at this time before I enter the budgeting process, is I'll make sure all my salary line items are in the places they should be before I carry it forward. In case, people retire, people resign, different amounts, we might have in the budget that's a higher dollar amount than the person that replaced them, so I'm just moving the monies around that way before I carry it forward. That's routine stuff that I'm asking for approval of.
Thank you. Board members, are there any questions that relates to the approval for transfers and increases in the budget? Not hearing any questions, is there a motion?
I moved.
It has been moved to accept the approval for transfers and increases in the budget. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Again, any final questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Treasury report is approved. Next item on the agenda is the auditing services, and it is to approve the bid for auditing services from an outside CPA firm for fiscal years 2022, 2023, and 2024. It's been a common practice to use an outside firm.
Just Just
an
a
extra
requirement
set
to
of
have
eyes?
the board, allow me to go out for bid on that
Yeah,
again every
absolutely.
3 years, so if the board will approve that, I can move forward with the bidding process.
So moved.
Has been moved to accept approval of the auditing services. Is there a second?
A second.
Has been moved and properly seconded. Again, if there are no questions, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item on our agenda this evening is first reading of a revised policy GCBDA, the Family and Medical Leave Policy and Notice of Employee Rights and Responsibility. Also, first reading of GCBDA-A, Leaves of Absence, a revised policy. Board, if you recall, we requested that we take a look at this policy sooner than our policy review process. We felt like these issues were leaving the board a little too subjective in the process of making those decisions, rather than having a little more objective approach towards those requests. And this revision in policy, I believe, helps mitigate some of that as it relates to those questions. Are there any questions as it relates to the first reading of those two policies?
What basically did we do?
Well,
I know we cleaned them up, but what, the blue is the
Yes.
change?
Blue is new, red stripe through is what we're taking out, yes.
And the law firm looked at all this?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Board, any other questions?
This will help in
It
the
will.
future
Yes.
when we have, you know,
Next situation.
some situation where someone is off for a long, long time. I think this will help clear it up.
Right.
The other policy issue on the agenda this evening is second reading, and which would then include approval of a ever so slight change in the policy IO, the homeschooling policy. Basically, the slight change is we're no longer allowed to ask by the state, I believe, we're no longer allowed to ask a birth date, we must ask an age.
Correct.
And so we had to change our policy to reflect the state regulations, and rather than it saying birth date, we now say age. And so
Correct.
that was the only change in homeschool policy IO. Any questions as it relates to that policy?
I move that we approve the first and second reading of revised policies as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Has been moved and properly second to accept both first reading of the two revised policies and approval on second reading of the change in IO homeschooling policy. Not hearing any further questions. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda then is the board member committee reports. Are there any board member committee reports this evening?
I just have a question. Do we have a policy committee coming up soon?
Not at this time, no.
Okay.
The attorney said she's bogged down with personnel issues right now.
Okay, that's fine. Just wanna make sure.
Not hearing any other board member committee reports then, next item on the agenda is the discussion of policy 2322, West Virginia support and accountability.
Yeah. If you'll look at, it looks like you have a traffic light, on your tables in front of you. Mrs. Stanford has prepared a very nice report for you for iReady, and I think she's ready to talk about that for the elementary schools.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
I've given you two different parts to it. The top part is the county, and then the thicker part is where you can break down and look at individual schools with the grade levels, which I'm really not gonna go over the grade levels individually. That's something you can look at yourself. But as for the county, the top one's your reading, and in your reading, you're gonna find that on grade level or above, we went up 9%. We went from 20% to 29%. Might not be where we wanted, but that's still growth. That's 9% growth, so that's pretty good growth. One grade level below went down 2%, went from 34% to 32%. And then the red, the 2 to 3 grade levels below, went down 8%, which is good that it's going down from 46% to 38%. In reading, all the domains have improved. We're still struggling in comprehension and vocabulary. When we look at the individual schools and their growth, Long Drain School on grade level went up 8%. They went from 17 to 25%. And in the red, 2 to 3 grade levels below, they went down 11%, from 55 to 44%. New Martinsville School on grade level and above went up 13%. They went from 23% to 36%. And on the red, from 2 to 3 grade levels below, they went down 8%, which is good again, going down in the red, from 41 to 32%. Peyton City Elementary on grade level and above, they went up 8% from 21% to 29%. And in the red, 2 to 3 grade levels below, they went down 8%. So that's good. Shortline School on grade level and above, they went up 10%. They went from 17 to 27%. And on the red, 2 to 3 grade levels below, they went down 13%, from 48 to 35%. So there's growth in all areas in reading. So, I mean, and that's what we need to be seeing. So with the math, looking at county-wide, on grade level or above, we went up 12%. We went from 11 to 23%. So we started out pretty low at 11%, but we doubled that. One grade level below, we went down 2% from 43 to 41%. The red, 2 to 3 grade levels below, we went down 11%, from 47 to 36%. Again, all domains had improvement. Struggling in geometry and algebra, those were our lowest. Long Drain School, on grade level above, they went up 19%. That's a big jump. They went from 10% to 29%. Red, 2 or 3 grade levels below, they went down 17%, from 47 to 30%. That's really nice to see. New Martinsville School, on grade level or above, they went up 12%. They went from 12 to 24%. Red, 2 to 3 grade levels below, went down 11%. They went down from 40 to 29%. So again, that's pretty good for the math. So Peyton City Elementary, on grade level and above, they went up 12%. They went from 12% to 24%. And on the red, 2 to 3 grade levels below, they went down 10%, from 30 to 20%. Again, all of them so far those are really good. It's good data there to see. And Shortline School, on grade level or above, they went up 16%. So they went from 6% to 22%. And the red, 2 to 3 grade levels below, they went down 15%. They went from 44% to 29%. So as you can see, there's growth in all areas from your first benchmark to your second. Are we still low percentage-wise? Yes. We're still low percentage-wise. But we have growth.
Can some of this be attributed to the fact that we're back in school face-to-face?
Oh, I'm sure, absolutely. The growth.
I mean, I'm just,
Yes.
the people out in the world that, that are listening, that, they can.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. But that's where we are, and you can look at the individual grade levels of the schools. I mean, just go through and glance at those, and you can see where the more improvement has occurred and less improvement has occurred. So, and one thing I wanted to mention, and it's not to do with the benchmarks, but the young writers this year, we had 92 entries for young writers. That's amazing. Last year, I think we had like 10. So that's a huge jump too.
Which I think we can attribute to being back to in-person.
I think absolutely.
And motivating kids, yeah.
Do those get I'm unclear from getting old. Do those get judged or something?
Yes, they get judged. It took the judges all day to judge them. They said probably if we had that many or more next year, they need to do 2 days for judging.
And then they rank them and
Yes.
they'll be here And we recognize them?
Well, the ones that go to state,
Okay. And are there very many of those, or it varies? the
there's
number?
different categories,
Okay.
so, yeah.
I just wanna make sure, I knew that we probably would, but I
Yes.
wanna make sure that we're recognizing a lot of things, and
Mhm.
anything we can recognize the kids for doing.
Yes.
Mr. Houston's back, so I'll ask him this question about the iReady scores for high school, so.
Next board meeting,
Well, it looks like Magnolia's not participating, so
well,
are they doing something
they
else?
are now,
Okay. Well, it just looks like there's not much effort there.
yeah. Magnolia is participating with their special needs students and some students that need extra support. But they're also doing something a little bit different than they are already. They're using their SAT data.
That was my question. Are they using something, another type of measure?
Yeah.
Okay, and then the other high schools, if you look at that just quickly, it doesn't look like there's just a whole lot, well, Hayden City High School, a little better than Valley. But again, it doesn't look like there's much effort on the students' part.
We've asked that, haven't we, Mr. Houston?
We're having having this discussion. I've talked with different schools. What is the motivation factor for a high school student to take that already benchmark?
Probably very, very low.
So we're gonna discuss, I don't know if we're hitting the next principals meeting, but we'll be having a discussion with our administration, about the root cause of why our kids aren't taking that already serious. And what we might be able to do about it.
Well, I'm just trying to point out if it's not something that's effective, we need to do something else.
And Mr. Houston is toying with that idea. In fact, he's done some research on possibly doing something similar to what Magnolia is doing with the the SAT scores. So.
I don't really know what the answer is right now. You know, this first year for already in the high school. There are some positives. We do get immediate information back on the students, which I think is a positive. I'm not gonna hand you an already report like that. I'm breaking it down I'm doing it personally with a spreadsheet. And we'll tell you percentages of growth and decline. But I'm also gonna give you a list, you won't see the kids' names, but you'll see by school, kids that are showing growth and or decline. The next board meeting, I plan to in my little bit different viewpoint, I'm looking at the kids are making 1.25% growth at midpoint, because our strategic plan goal is 2.5%. So if students are meeting that 1.25 threshold, then they're on target. Also going to let you know that we'll let you know the percentage of kids that are meeting that target, and I'm going to let you know the percentage of kids that are showing growth. May not be at that level, but they are showing growth. And I'm going to also let you know the percentage of kids that are showing decline. We do have kids that are making growth. We have some kids that are making phenomenal growth, but then we also have some kids that are just. I'll only tell you something. This is not, you mentioned Magnolia. I spent a little bit of time going through Magnolia already data. I don't have all the numbers, but I have a pretty good percentage numbers, and it's I'm surprised and it's a sad thing that Mr. Kipple's not here tonight, because I wanted to brag on special needs students, because I'm seeing some pretty good growth in our special needs kids.
And that's huge. That's one of our subgroups that we've been dinged on before in the past.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Well, I'll give you a pretty good detailed report next board meeting. Planned on doing one tonight, but I didn't have anything with Magnolia. And it's just one of those things. And going back to answer your question, I don't know what the right answer is with high school on benchmark. I know we have to have something. You know, the one thing that is the downfall for SAT data is in the fall, we can give a PSAT 9, and we can give the MMQ.
And MQST.
Yes, to 10th and 11th grade. But if those kids, if the kid's not there that day, we don't have that data. And the other thing about it is, we're not gonna have it for a month and a half. You know, at the earliest, which I kind of have a problem, a struggle with, so. I'm also planning on posing a question to, our connection with iReady, Mr. McBride. I'd like for him to be able to answer my question, and my question is, how do we know iReady works for high school kids? I can tell you, I'm 100% firm believer, 30 through 8. I believe there's a true correlation. I've done the data. You know, back when I was, long drain, I did the data, and if a kid on that third benchmark fell in that green category, 90% chance the kid was going to score in green, or was going to be at state standard. Okay. I just don't know if we have a correlation with iReady. Now one thing I can say is positive for iReady next year is there will be an Algebra 1 curriculum to give them support with. Something we didn't have.
And algebra is continuously algebra and geometry are continuously two of our areas that are, we struggle with.
And Mrs. Wells, you know that two-thirds of that test is algebra.
Yes, it is.
SAT. So, I hope to have some answers for you, so, and give you some good information.
Do a lot of secondary schools in West Virginia use iReady? Or do you have any?
I really don't know, to be honest with you.
I'm not sure either.
What's that?
I said, I'm not sure either, how many do you see?
Can we, maybe from your contact,
Oh, yeah.
would he know? I mean,
Yeah.
I just.
Is iReady normally used with high schools?
That's a good question. I don't think it. I just think it's the next progression. When they built that platform, they didn't build it for high schools.
Because from 3 to 8, not only do they take the benchmark test, but they do computer lessons with
We
it.
have the instruction to go along with
Right.
it. High school
Yes.
as
But
well.
at the high school, they
Yeah.
just take it once and then they take it again without the,
So
so that might be part of it.
So what, I can tell you for sure what 100 High School does with the iReady. If a kid scores below the 9th grade benchmark, as far as iReady, then they are assigned lessons within iReady to give them that boost. If a student benchmarks at their grade level, then Mrs. Sigley assigns them what's called Mastery Prep, and it's just an SAT program that we use. We do boot camps with. We're still trying to work through what is the answer, what is the best scenario to give us some really good, accurate data on our kids so we can make changes. And then something else that's that's really not a benchmark test, but something else that we're working towards doing is our tiered systems, multi-tiered systems of support.
Tier 1 and 2.
Tier 1, 2, 3. 3 is really severe need. Tier 1 you can do in your classroom. We think that that's an issue for us that we need to get better at. And we had a meeting this week with State Department about steps forward. They're working on coming up with a plan for us. We want to do train the trainer model, and we want to start that with our principals, and that's
And they're collaborating with SREB.
collaboration with SREB, and then roll that out. Have them roll out as the leaders of the school, roll it out with their teachers. The big rationale for that is if the school leader understands it and can teach it and is a good resource, then your teachers are likely to buy in. I know I had that when I was a principal. I always was I always took the training, with my staff. I was a resource for them, If I took the time to learn it, it was important. It became important to them.
How many years have we been using it now? 5, really?
I read.
Yeah.
How long have we been doing
Well,
that?
I retired 6 years ago, we weren't using it.
No, I wanna say, gosh,
3?
3?
3.
That's what I wanna say.
Because I just wonder if at a point, that would be the middle school kids that moved up to the high school, if they're tired of it, and the promotions and the rewards and stuff just don't mean as much because they've been doing it.
We just started at the high school last year.
Yeah, like I said, we just started
Right.
with the high school. We had this little discussion today or yesterday, when we were talking about if it's important for the adults, it becomes more important for the
Yeah.
kids. I honestly, I don't know if it's important for all of the adults in our high schools yet. They just don't know enough about it, and they think it might be another thing to do.
And that's normal.
And that's just,
And another reason to get the root cause.
yeah, I mean, we really need to look at the root causes. I'm gonna get really good at the root causes, because that's a big piece of the strategic plan, and,
So as a parent of a high schooler, just to put a little bit into perspective, last week I said to my daughter, today's the first day you get to see your teachers' faces. Enjoy your first day of high school without a mask. And the reason I say that is these kids in high school, everything has been very unconventional between the pandemic and everything else. And iReady was brought in, and at first it was used, I don't wanna say as punishment, but it was, let's do it, let's do it, let's do it, and it was crammed down their throat. I can tell you that there's a lot of high schoolers with a lot of resentment. And if it is 3 years, then our high school seniors have not done iReady.
We launched it in the 2019-2020 school year. I just looked to see, when I talked to somebody.
This is year 3.
So we're
So-
on year 3.
We're on year
We're on year 3.
So I believe in iReady, I believe in the data. Is it good for high school? I don't know, that's for you to figure out.
yeah.
But if it is, my point is, these kids, these younger kids that are doing it, and it's just part of their routine, by the time they build their way up, it's just gonna be part of the routine. These older kids they're gonna buck the system however they can.
And my whole point, Mr. Houston, was if it's not effective, let's do something else for a benchmark.
At this point in time, I honestly can't tell you if it's effective or not.
And thank you for your honesty.
But if we could find out if it's a little bit of research, if other schools, secondary schools in the state are using it, I mean, I don't wanna be jumping on the bandwagon, and not throwing anybody on, but jumping on the bandwagon, and it's not the right bandwagon. I mean, it's just something that, like Mrs. Cooley says, the kids they need something that's meaningful to them. Oh gosh, and it's like back when we did CTVS, I used to give the CTVS, and kids would be sitting there going, oh my gosh. And they took it, but I don't know how seriously they took it. Okay.
Mrs. Stanford, anything else? Mr. Houston, anything else?
Well, I think I've spoken enough.
Okay. Great. Mrs. McPherson.
Just real quick, the West Virginia Department of Agriculture survey for commodities, I've been working on that. That will be submitted later this week for all of next school year. So that's the food that we get through the commodities program. With that, and then also next week I will be in Washington DC Monday through Wednesday, talking with our legislators about child nutrition.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Doty.
Yes.
Anything to add to the?
No, we're just rolling along. We just put the gym and gymatorium HVAC project out on the street for bid last week. All of the drainage projects at Long Drain School are scheduled to start as soon as school's out. And the pre-bid meeting for New Martinsville K1's roof will be on the 14th, the day before we open the bid for a Payne City project. Other than that, we're moving on.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. McPherson.
actually have a few things. I told everybody I'd be quiet until I actually had something to say, that was good. Our vape detectors are at about 90% effective. With Mr. Doty's help, we're trying to build the adapter that the people who sold us the vape detector don't sell, which is mind-boggling to me. They're missing out on an opportunity, but he's working on it. We're trying to. They're great on drop ceilings. They are no good on a hard ceiling because of the way they're made. And so we have a box without an adapter, and he's gonna make an adapter. So I'm excited about that. And they're very sensitive. We turn them on at the center, and they work, maybe a little too well. They're sensitive to vape. They're sensitive to sound, which you can adjust, and they're sensitive to proximity. If you get too close to it, it will let somebody know. So we'll start bringing them on. They're online. We'll start bringing them on and getting. Some people may ask me to turn them off immediately after I turn them on until we get some things adjusted because it sends a text message. I'm going to say within a second.
Yes.
It's fast. It's very, very fast.
But they're physically in all the locations?
Not yet, because we didn't install the ones where we need the adapters.
Yes. They will.
Yes, we're down to about 8 that need installed right now. So that's getting somewhere, and that was Thursday and Friday's project on my end as far as getting them in and physically installed was not hard. The dashboard end was interesting because they wouldn't let me put them all in one account, and we won. We're good. Steam wagon, we've not talked about that very much. We finally have the steam wagon on the rails here. We've got some plans made for a pretty interesting immersive STEAM experience that goes from school to school for our 4th graders, and should have that ready to go, and something will happen this year. I'm really excited about it. I left our last TIS meeting excited about what we've got started. We started out like the 10,000 foot view, and we're funneling down into what the experience is going to look like for our kids, and I'm excited about it. And I'm excited about not only looking at what we're going to do this year, but thinking about how we will recreate that again next year, but then also move on to a different grade level and provide that immersive experience. I'm very excited about that. Finally have a ship date for our server that we need for our upgrade that we've been looking for 6 months or better. And finally have a ship date for our Wi-Fi update as well. It's just the access points and the switching, and it's taking forever, like everything else. And it got more expensive, but luckily it's nice to say that's not our problem. It's all through its E-rate, so we're paying 15% of that, and the feds are picking up 85% of that, and that's time well spent. And in that vein, I applied for emergency connectivity funding for our laptops, and I'm happy to finally say that after I get an email every week saying that it's been updated but no information, that this past week I got confirmation that we will get, depending on how our survey goes, we should end up with about $781,000 out of that application. So I'm pretty excited about that. Yeah, not too often that you get to say you filled out some paperwork and talked to some people and you're going to get $750,000. So I'm excited about that.
Thank you.
So that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. McPherson. Mr. Vargas?
Just one item piggybacking off Mr. McPherson's there. He let me know that we're close enough to being completely installed to set up the training. So I spoke with the company today, and that training is set up for the principals on next Monday for the Vape Detectors. And so once we have that training with the company, we hope that we'll get some more information on how we can adjust those settings to get the optimal level so it's not so sensitive. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Vargas. Mr. Lancaster, anything else?
Nothing I need to talk about.
Okay, Mr. Cook?
I just have a couple things, take a couple minutes, but a couple things. You may have noticed that our billboard is up right below the Speedway, over around the Menser Distributing. Says Budweiser, 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 substitutes. Make a difference. Be a substitute. Don't drink the Budweiser, be a substitute. So it's a really nice billboard right down there in front of Menser Distributing, heading south before you get to the bridge. It looks pretty nice. The kids from Stacy Yoho's, Mrs. Yoho's business class had a 90% take on making it. And I'm going to be leaning on them for a few other opportunities and missions here this year before next year. But we've also got it on our website, and we're utilizing that as a key point for substitutes. If you click on that, it has an easier way to become a substitute in whatever you want to substitute with us on. So we are running short on those. We are running short on teachers. I mean, it's not just a Wetzel County problem, but you know, it's all over, an issue. So we're going full bore ahead to try to get some subs, to try to get, new teachers. We'll be going out to different, job fairs and things like that this year. Since those are opening back up live, face to face, we will have people there, either myself or myself, or somebody else that looks like me. But somebody will be there, and I'm hoping that we'll get some good talented kids, which is where I want to kind of leave you with today, but not really leave you. The RIF transfer season's coming up. Nobody likes that. I hate it. And the teachers hate it worse. So anytime I go into a building now, I send a panic just by walking into the building. And I don't like doing it, but every once in a while I do just, you know, sneak up and go boo. But that's probably not funny. But however, what I would like for us to consider this year, given that last year I think cut was about $500,000 worth of teachers, and then we ended up hiring a high percentage of them back. And then I lost a high percentage to other counties. What I would like to do this year, and bear with me with this, but create positions within buildings where these teachers will be losing those specific positions and move into a co-teacher / substitute position in those buildings instead of letting them go, because I know if I only have a half dozen, I'm gonna lose 2 or 3 to another adjoining county.
Like
Just
that.
because they're
And-
waiting for my RIF numbers to
But that
come
would
out.
help us with our substitute problem
And it will
also.
help us with our substitute problem, and that the principals can work together if I have, I can't say specifics, but I will be having specific cuts that I have every year, that has to continue. The numbers are going to make me have to make cuts in buildings. But if I can maintain those people, like if there's one at the elementary, wherever, and they're not needed in that building, particularly that day, and they need them at the high school, that we could utilize, you know, in both buildings, so.
We're in unprecedented times with the sub issue.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
we're-
today New Martinsville School didn't have 4 subs, and that's normal. Faye said she doesn't know what she's gonna do when she wakes up and she's got all her teachers.
Shoreline School was short 5.
Yeah,
Yes, they were.
and it's constant.
Yeah.
Will these people that are gonna be kept on still be able to get their full-time benefits?
Yes,
Mhm.
they would maintain their contracts.
We're
as
tired
a
of losing our
full-time.
best and our youngest and
Yeah.
brightest to neighboring counties during that little window of opportunity where,
Well, I think it works best for the employee, and it also works best for the substitute situation.
yeah, it's just an odd time. I mean, who would have ever thought we'd be in this position?
It's a wonderful idea. Is it all legal and?
I've been working with, Rick in regards to that, our lawyers, and the first step is to bring it to you guys and approve, us of making these positions. The next step will be talking to the unions and making sure they're okay with us maintaining those members, which I can't see them not be, but stranger things have happened. And getting them to approve it also, so.
What was that, Darren? You wanted me to say something? Oh, okay.
Yeah, about the ESER, their ESER.
I think it's a great idea too. It's expensive, it's an expensive idea.
Yes, it is.
Because benefits cost money, subs, they're gonna make the full-time pay immediately at their full year's experience, full degree. It's an expensive deal. It's gonna put you over the formula even more. You gotta understand that that's what's happening. And we'll have some what's that?
We will be cutting the positions they're going from, so it won't be changing any.
Correct, it
anything
won't
as far
put
as
you
that's
over,
concerned.
it won't put you over the formula
Any more than I already am.
than you already are, but it's not gonna make any leeway, maybe is what I better, but all I wanna say about that is, as long as you understand, the funding source right now would probably be ESSER funds, leftover ESSER funds to pay for learning loss, that's what we can do with it. But some point down the road, you're probably, it's an expensive, sounds great, and I like the idea, and I think it's wonderful because it's better than losing them to another county, but it's also not cheap, just make sure you understand that.
And I feel like it's best for staff, but more importantly, it's best for our students, because they're not going to have a different teacher coming in their room each class period that's just covering on their planning period.
When
They
you're
can have
short
somebody
4 or
there.
5 teachers in a building.
Every day.
Every day, it's, the quality of learning is not there.
I would have never guessed in April, when I first took the interim job here, that we would be sitting here with you today telling you that we can't get people. We need subs, we need consistency for our kids, we don't wanna lose, our next door counties are taking our teachers, and I don't blame them. We've got really good people, young people that we're riffing, and they're not wasting any time.
But financially, we might not be able to sustain it, and that depends on oil and gas revenues, which I'm still waiting on, and ESSER is going to dry up. We know that, we don't know that oil and gas is gonna dry up, but we know ESSER is gonna dry up. So we have to make sure we think ahead, that we might not be able to sustain this in the long term.
A tiny bit is gonna be offset by not paying teachers for the $25 or whatever we're paying them for their planning periods, right? Or
Well, for that one person, possibly, yeah.
yeah, but I mean, I don't know what the outlay for that is. It's probably minimal, right? Okay.
I think it's a great way to look at it outside the box, which we have to do, because the problem's not gonna go away.
So I guess I'm asking the board to consider that and, maybe throw some action out there.
And we'd have to wait and put that
Put it
on
on
the
the
agenda.
agenda. Yeah, they don't check out the next one.
Can't just,
No, I mean, on the next one.
Yes.
So, I mean, I want you to think about it and then we'll, put it on the next
Well,
one.
if Mr. Boothby's done with all his analysis and everything though too, right? Didn't he analyze and?
No, just don't bring it to us on an agenda until we're solid that we've got all the legal.
Right.
Cause there's nothing worse than having to go back up.
All the eyes are dotted
Yeah.
and T's crossed.
And on that line, community members have asked me, and I'll just ask the question. I don't know whether there's a right or wrong here, but I do know that you can ask for yearly waivers to use folks with 2-year degrees that go through the state training and do all the proper things. Have we even entertained that as an option to help fill the sub list?
We may have to. We have talked about it, we have not acted on that yet, but we may have to.
Yeah, it's just a question, because I know some have asked me
Right.
whether that was something Wetzel County was ever in line of thinking to do. I honestly don't know what the right or wrong answer to that is.
I'm not for it. But that's just me.
There's something about valuing what it means to be a professional who has a bachelor's and in most cases a master's in child development. There's something to be said for that, and to be honored about that. However, desperate times call for desperate measures, and there are some people out there, there are unicorns in this world that have this 2-year degree that really make excellent teachers. So, there are unicorns out there that don't have that background and that, but as an educator and as someone who values this profession, it's a struggle for us because we want to honor what it means to have that background in child development. It's tough.
And I think it's tough for people that don't have experience, whether it's the 2-year degree or the non-certified subs.
Yes, exactly.
It makes a difference.
It does. But like I said, we have some people that come from those realms that do beautiful work and would be very, very good. It's a juggling struggle kind of thing for us right now.
Would you go to a physician that just had a 2-year degree?
I probably would.
Facing empty classrooms, I know, but you know what I mean?
I know, yeah. It's an amazing time.
Yeah. And there might be something you could do to give precedent. I don't know, again, legally, but you could think about somebody with a bachelor's would receive greater compensation as sub than somebody with, you know what I mean? You could create ways, you could make sure that those who had higher qualifications were first in line. You know,
Would that,
there's ways.
when you just said compensation, would that help us keep subs? I don't know how we are in comparison to the other counties would it help to give a raise to substitutes too? And I know that's asking for more money, Mr. Lancaster. But-
It's not a conversation we haven't had.
But it's discussion.
Do we differ that much from
Just
other
think
counties?
about it.
We don't differ terribly from other counties, but we do differ from other counties.
With what in particular?
Substitutes, I'm just thinking anything.
I don't know the exact extent of that yet, except for I can tell you we're 11th in the state in pay tables for professional employees and service employees. So in theory, we're 11th in the state for subs because you get paid a percentage of what they make. Now, we could increase that, and I'll actually present something to you on that. Again, it's not cheap, but and would it make a difference? That's the other question. If it would make a difference, then it's worth exploring. If it's just gonna cost us more money and we're still gonna be short subs, then why would we do it? It's not easy. But it's not a problem that everybody in the state isn't trying to solve,
Oh,
so.
that's for sure.
And it's one of those things that you start that you will never be able to get
Yes.
out.
Yes.
Although I'm in favor of looking at anything to help our substitute situation.
Thank you. Is that it, Mr. Cook? Nothing else? Any board members, any other questions, Rose? Not hearing any, then the next regular meeting, is scheduled for March the 14th at 6 o'clock. And if there are no other comments or questions from the board, I would move for adjournment.
And I'll second.
And as we move to properly seconded to adjourn, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.